This is the Young Bucks.
And you're listening to the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show. To Sweet Me.
Produced by the Cleveland Sound Radio Network. Here is the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show, hosted by Glenn Moore and Steve Guy.
Welcome. This is Awesome Wrestling Show here on ThisIsAwesomeWrestlingShow.com and CLDSound.com. I am Glenn Moore, joined here by Steve Guy. The week following WrestleMania weekend, we are recapping what happened, giving our thoughts, giving you some little tidbits that could happen in the future, some predictions as well, as long as with some news that we'll mix in when we talk about WrestleMania. We're going to talk some NXT Takeover Dallas, how that card was much better than WrestleMania itself. And we will dissect why I think WrestleMania was probably below average, and we're going to get Steve's thoughts as well. But we're going to go over the matches, give our thoughts on what happened, and then we're going to also, like I said, give some news out, especially about guys like Cena and Wyatt and Owens and Zayn and possibly Paige and the future of some wrestlers that might not be with WWE in the near future. So we'll hit on that. Follow us on Twitter at TIA Wrestling, also Instagram, and like us on Facebook. This is Awesome Wrestling Show. .com is the site where you can check out all our past shows, interviews, news stories. Our two top news stories involved the word penis, as Vader's penis
ridiculous.
Vader's penis pick was one of the hot topic.
No pun intended on that.
And
ridiculous.
And Hulk Hogan's video talking about his penis also. So two hot stories on the website. You can head over there, and any breaking news happens, we'll have our spin on it as well. So this is AwesomeWrestlingShow.com. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. All right, Steve, you were there. I had to come back. And so you were there for WrestleMania, and you were there for the big show. We both watched Raw, Hall of Fame really quick. I watched it in the entirety. I was never a fan of sitting there for 4 or 5 hours while guys ramble on about wrestling, but I thought it was very entertaining, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy Michael Hayes. I know a lot of people probably didn't, but I love listening to old stories, as maybe a lot of AIW people know that I love sitting with the old guys and talking about old-time wrestling. So I enjoyed that. So before that, though, before we get to WrestleMania, Steve, I know you didn't go to NXT TakeOver Dallas, but
I did watch it.
You watch it.
From Dallas.
Yeah. I thought it was amazing. You had the NXT debut of Nakamura versus Sami Zayn, which was a hell of a match, WrestleMania worthy, WrestleMania main event worthy. Then you have Asuka winning the NXT Women's Championship, which I thought was a hell of a match with Bayley. But overall, I got to tell you that this show, it was a lot better than WrestleMania, and you can have some of these matches on WrestleMania. And I really, really enjoyed Nakamura and Asuka. Japan stars coming over here. And, I don't know how long you keep Nakamura and Asuka down from the main roster, but those two can, not sports entertainment wrestle, but wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, it was an entertaining show. When we sat here last week and we went through it, and, we highlighted the 3 main events, and as I sat here and said, look, man, don't sleep on these other ones, because they're going to be pretty darn good. And they were. I enjoyed the tag team match to open it up. I thought was fantastic. You got everything you wanted out of that, and which I really enjoyed when they chant Gable. They chanted to Kurt Angle's old music.
Yeah.
You notice that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Joe and Finn, the interesting thing with that was just watching. You could tell Joe was getting frustrated because he was bleeding right away. That sucks, man, that takes away from the match. Because the thing is, too, he's supposed to be gaining all this momentum, and then, I mean, I guess you can use it to the extent like, Finn had extra amount of time to, catch up or whatever. But that was a bummer. But even still, it was it was a fun match to watch. Like you said, Asuka and Bayley was great. I'm trying to think back who was else there. They moved Apollo Crews and Elias Sampson. That ended up being like a dark match.
Yeah, that was taped.
Yeah.
It was taped
I think it's going to air tonight, this being Wednesday for NXT. But overall, man, what a great show.
The tag team match with the American Alphas, I believe, with Dash.
American Alpha, and
there's I think way too many. There were some spots where they botched. They tried to do some new things. There was hot because it was the first match of the night. Crowd is always hot for the first match of the night, no matter who's in the ring. And obviously, American Alphas are really over, but it was really sloppy. I think too many near finishes, which kind of spoiled it. But
there were a lot of those, and I hate when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the rest of the card I thought was pretty great, and the whole blood thing with Joe, it just felt it was getting way too. It was a little bit too much, and it ruined the momentum, and it kind of just ruined transitioning from one spot and one set of spots to another. It was. It was frustrating to watch on TV. I'm sure it was frustrating in the crowd.
What can you do, right? I'm sure. I mean, you could tell that Joe, having been around Joe now, and we've gotten to meet him and talk to him and watch him up close. Like, you could see he was visibly getting frustrated too, outside of the fact that he was trying to portray a heel. I think.
Do you think he was thinking, "Man, TNA wouldn't do this"?
Yeah, I think he was thinking AIW would let me continue this match.
TNA would not stop or. For the blood,
and is that that's where we are now, I guess, with WWE, right? Is they had to continue. I mean, look, every time they stopped it, he was bleeding a lot. I get it.
It was a crimson mask. How many times have we seen a crimson mask in wrestling?
I understand. Yeah, all the time. But I guess this is now where we are. What was the match most recently on the main roster where they had to kind of call a timeout and they covered somebody? I don't remember what it was, but this is just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That happened. So. It did. It took away, but it was still a good match. It did take away. I saw that happen right away, though.
Yeah.
That headbutt.
Yeah, I was
like, ooh.
Those guys were going at it, but Samoa Joe, look for him in the main roster very, very soon.
Were you disappointed the Balor Club didn't make a debut or appearance there, even on NXT?
No, I mean, they're going to wait for their time, and there's no rush. Bobby Roode was teased.
He was there.
He was there. So I know a lot of people are saying that if he signed or not, but he was signed a week before that, and he will be on WWE television in the near future, and expect him to start with NXT. So Bobby Roode will be in NXT. Look for that for happening for this summer. So all right, NXT Takeover Dallas, great show overall. Really set the tone for the whole weekend. We already talked about the Hall of Fame. If you guys watched it, the Stan Hansen introduction was great with Vader. You had Jacqueline Moore was great. Sting's was great. Ric Flair kind of went off tangent for a little bit. Obviously, we kind of expect that from Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And then the Michael Hayes, that was pretty cool, bringing his sons on, the sons of the deceased members of the Fabulous Freebirds. So
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so Hayes was on a little bit too long, but they had some great stories to make up for it. But obviously, Sting coming out and retiring, no surprise, and I'm sure we'll see Sting on TV, but in ring as of right now, he's retired. So that led to Sunday, and 7 hours of wrestling. First
it was a lot.
First, it started at 5 here Eastern time, ended almost midnight, and you and I love wrestling. We love watching it. And it's hard to watch 3 hours sometimes with Raw. But to sit here in front of a TV, I'm sure it was hard sitting there in person in the same chair for 7 hours. But here watching on TV, like a lot of people did, it was very tiring. By the time the main event came, you were already just I was drained watching on TV. I can only imagine what it was.
Everybody there was tired.
And it was just too much filler, too much wrestling for 7 hours, and you could easily cut off 2 hours off the main show to make it more legit, but just way too much. And dude, when the main event hit, I was like, thank God. It wasn't like, oh my God, thank God for the main event. It was, thank God, this is almost over.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where everybody got to. It was unfortunate. Now, I don't know if you heard or saw this, but so I didn't get into WrestleMania actually until the main card started.
Yeah, a lot of people were
Yeah, we walked
Did you
up.
experience that at all?
We were going to be one of those people because people were already waiting hours and hours in line to get in, and the lines were massive. So we were like, well, screw this. There was plenty of places like little restaurants to go eat.
Yeah.
So we went and grabbed something to eat rather than wait in line that entire time. So then that way, hour and a half or so later, we walk up, not really much of a line. But we weren't able to get in until right before the IC title match started. So we missed the entire kickoff show.
Yeah.
And most people did. I would say over half the crowd missed the first 2 matches at least in the kickoff show.
Now, I didn't have tickets, but I did read a lot about what happened and watched a lot of video, and people were passing out because it was hot and the heat, and people were just packed together, and a lot of people were legitimately passing out because they're
silly. It wasn't that hot.
Well, you had a lot of
you had a lot of people standing right there.
AIW is like the same way. You go in the gym, you have 500 people there. If you're packed in a lower level of a stadium and there's thousands of people trying to are all around you.
Maybe hot. I know where they were standing.
So
then.
it was for the people trying to get on the floor.
Yeah,
and it came down. There was 2 ways to get on the floor, and they had to give you a wristband and scan your ticket. And one of the scanners broke down, and they had to do it by hand, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah,
they had to stop, and there was only one way to get on. So that's why people were late to getting on the floor. And I guess people were being turned away because on your ticket there was a letter of which gate you had to go into.
Yes.
So people didn't know that. So they're going the wrong gate. So if you waited in line to get to you, and then by the time you got to your gate, they would say sorry, and then you go back to your regular gate and you wait in line again. So people were frustrated with that. That's why people didn't really get in. But the floor, people were having trouble getting the floor, and people were passing out. People were legitimately calling for ambulances. I watched some video. It was pretty hectic. It was pretty bad.
There also seemed to be a very specific line for the standing room only crowd, and they would not let them in right away either.
Yeah,
they waited to let those folks even in.
It was just reading about it. I don't think it was WWE's fault. I think it was more.
No, and I don't think anybody thought that.
I think it was more,
the
Jerry's
stadium,
world.
AT&T Stadium.
It
Yeah, nobody at all thought that. Hey, this is WWE's fault. But it's definitely the stadium. I think that was the whole thought. I was surprised they started the kickoff show early, knowing that people weren't in there. But then knowing how long
they started it late. It was the actual first match. Ryback Kalisto started 10 minutes late. Lillian came on and said the first match will start in a minute, and that didn't happen for 10, 15 minutes after. So the first match of the night started 10 minutes late. They actually kind of pushed it back because of people trying to get in, but then timing, they had to start the match. But when Kalisto and Ryback came out, and one of the questions on our scoreboard, anybody care? It seemed like the arena was already empty, and nobody really cared about that match.
That was my immediate thought, knowing that the match had started and everybody was outside. I was like,
no one cares.
No, seems like apparently that question wasn't related just to the WWE viewing audience, but WWE themselves.
Nobody cared. So let's get into the pre-show. Kalisto and Ryback. Kalisto fighting for defending his U.S. title. Beats Ryback in about 9 minutes. That was the singles match to start the night, and nobody really cared. I was kind of surprised that Ryback didn't win. I mean, we picked Kalisto, but then again, Vince is thinking the big guy. Vince loves big guys, obviously. But Kalisto goes over, and like I said, 9-minute match, very quick, very hum. It was two guys wrestling a match. It wasn't really anything special. So, moving on, the Divas match, and 2 girls that we talked about, in our preview show, was Eva Marie coming back, and they protected her. She didn't really do much. Even when she did do something, I saw was during the break. She had some kicks and some punches in, but during the break, they had her wrestle. But then all she did on TV was the sliced bread, one move. Lana did some kicks. That was really it. They protected her very, very well. She looked great, but Lana is a very shaky wrestler, and I don't think we'll see Lana wrestle full time, probably ever, because she is so green.
I don't think so.
Keeps getting injured, and she's a very rocky future when it comes to her wrestling career. Great manager, looks amazing, but for a wrestler, she's, I think, even lower than Eva Marie, and that's pretty pretty low.
She's very athletic, but
yeah, she's not a good wrestler. People and people back, other divas. Well, I'm sorry, can't say divas anymore. They are officially superstars.
Female superstars.
They don't want to wrestle her because she is a liability in the ring right now. But she did some kicks, and if you can mess up kicks with wrestling, then you really shouldn't be in the business. But she didn't mess it up. Usos versus Dudleys was the final pre-show match. Went 5 minutes. It seemed like the Dudleys were the team that were getting the most, yays out of the crowd. Usos got booed.
They were not liking the Usos.
And the Dudleys teased, putting powerbombing Usos for the table. Didn't happen. Usos get the final spot, doing their frog splash, top rope, and taking out the Dudleys, which got some boos. But overall, it was a very ho-hum match. And I was very kind of surprised with super kicks ending the match with the Usos. It didn't really seem like it was like the finish. This happened out of nowhere. It was pretty quick. Like I said, 5 minutes, so it was kind of very quick. But, that was the last of the pre-show. Sandwiched in all that was the official announcement of the Women's Championship, a brand new belt, a smaller version of the men's main championship. Has a white belt, different coloring. It says Women's on it. One thing Lita said and that they really pushed was the winner of the triple threat would be the first women's champion, which is kind of dumb and retarded because there's a whole history of women's wrestling, which Lita was a part of herself.
She was a women's champion.
So
and everybody
don't
knew
really
that.
get that.
Everybody kind of gave shit on social media about that.
So they and then the next night on Raw, they still pushed it, and on their website, it's women's champion. It's from 2016 on. And that's what they're really building. So, and we'll get to Charlotte's match when we get to it.
Maybe it's the women's in the era of superstars.
Well, there were superstars back then. But then they worded it that way. They were saying women's championship. There was other women's championship.
Yeah, no,
I'm
just trying to figure out what they're thinking.
The belt looks great compared to the stupid butterfly divas.
Yeah, it's a nice belt.
The belt looks legit.
It's girly enough, but it's legit.
Yeah, it's legit. I like it. So let's get to the opening. Opening match was the IC title match, ladder match. And, Zack Ryder, Owens, Ziggler, Zayn, Sin Cara, Stardust, and The Miz. And we had Ryder getting over at the 15-minute mark, taking out The Miz, who was taking his time. He thought the ghost, everything was clear that he would be able to get it. Ryder comes out, pushes him off, and surprisingly, Zack Ryder gets his WrestleMania moment and winning the IC title. In this match, he's had Zayn and Owens go at it, which was great. And Owens doesn't need to have the belt if Zayn and Owens are going to continue, which they will throughout the summer. We're going to see a lot of matches between these two. And then you had Sin Cara, which you never would believe that he would win. Stardust, nah. Ziggler, he's really out of the picture for anything right now. But Ryder, we wanted, in our hearts, we wanted Ryder to win, and he did, which was a great moment. His dad comes in the ring. It was an awesome moment. One thing from this, and we talked about before the show, is Stardust. His attire was a tribute to his father, and I was a head scratcher. I didn't really get it because his father, Dusty Rhodes, has said that it was the worst the year of wrestling that he would gladly wipe away from his history. And I know a lot of WWE fans, that's what he's known for. That's what recognizable. But I want to, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure WWE said, hey, if you're gonna tribute to your dad, wear the polka dots, because Dusty Rhodes hated the polka dots. If they didn't want to do any tribute, then hey, Stardust can be Stardust and have the Hard Times still. Hard Times was before the whole polka dot, but I didn't really get that because of Dusty Rhodes just not liking what WB put him through when he had polka dots.
No, I get it. He could, like I said before the show, he could just had the Hard Times on there. But then I think back when Bayley tried to do her tribute to him, she had polka dots.
Yeah.
Tommy Dreamer, remember, he was wearing the polka dots.
It's recognizable.
It's recognizable with Dusty in the WWF, WWE. And I think that even Dusty would know and understand that look, when he got to WWF, there's this whole group and generation of fans. That's what they recognize him. As a little kid growing up, I didn't get to watch like NWA and all that stuff. I was introduced to Dusty through WWF, and I associated him with the polka dots, and I loved it. I still loved it, and I think that even Cody understands that and would get that. That's one of those moments where, as much as you hate it, you have to realize that this is about my tribute to him and sharing it with these people. And how do these people recognize him? They recognize him with the polka dots. Not everybody is smart enough or, goes back far enough to look up the hard times and all that stuff, even though it was great and fantastic. And I've watched it all and seen it since. But not a lot of people have known that era. So this is the more universally recognizable.
If I had to predict, it was probably WWE's telling Cody to do it, not Cody's idea. I'm sure there was back and forth, and Cody probably didn't really feel comfortable. But if that's the way they want to do it, then I'm sure he had to succumb to what their decision was. But he did wear his dad's boots, which was great.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So that was pretty
and
cool.
the polka dot ladder.
Polka dot ladder. I'm sure Dusty.
Maybe that could have been enough, though.
Yeah, the polka dots thing is
right?
just
like he could have put hard times on his suit.
Yeah.
He could have just been Stardust and put hard times on his suit, whatever decoration he wanted to, worn his dad's boots, and then had the polka dot ladder.
But it's
if you know what I mean,
just,
to make WWE happy and have his own tribute as well. That would have been the common ground to me.
It's like we should, if Triple H passes away or something, we should recognize Triple H, pay homage to him, coming out as a as Hunter Hearst Helmsley with the music and with way than his the game. So I mean, because everybody knows him as a game, and little people know that Hunter Hearst Helmsley was a snob out of Connecticut coming out with looking like he just got off a horse basically.
Right.
But so I mean, it was nice, but kind of a head scratcher for people who are more educated. Casual fan probably liked it, but to me, it was like, I'm sure Dusty probably was like, ooh. So Zack Ryder gets the win. His dad comes out, and next night on Raw, Miz gets the win. Miz becomes the IC champion, and Maurice makes her return to WWE programming. Not sure if it will be full time. She does stay on SmackDown and cut a promo on Zack Ryder. So it looks like for the time being, Maurice is going to be escorting Miz down to the ring, the real life couple on WWE TV. So that was pretty nice. So Zack Ryder gets the win. So next match was a match that we're looking forward to. Lasted 17 minutes. Chris Jericho gets the win over AJ Styles on the big stage via pinfall. We saw Styles do a style clash on Jericho, which was kicked out of, which kind of boggled me because we waited so long to see a Styles clash happen, and it happened, and Jericho kicks out of it. And ultimately Jericho wins, and everybody is, complaining that Styles, should have won. This was his first, which I kind of agree with, but we all saw the next night on Raw, Styles gets the win. He's #1 contender. So, but this match was not as good as Fastlane.
No,
I don't think.
I didn't think so either.
But it just felt like it was heavily choreographed. They went through it pretty quick, and that's what you got. So it went 17 minutes, went longer than the ladder match, but Jericho gets the win.
Do you think that, real quick, that maybe this is also potentially like a Jericho swan song quietly? Like, hey, this is potentially his last WrestleMania. Give him the win.
I think if it was, we would have a little bit more of a inkling.
Or like as a just in case it is, maybe.
No, I think No, because I think Jericho's in great shape, and I think as long as he can wrestle, he's going to be there. He's going to be
popping up,
be there for WrestleMania. A guy that can still have a hell of a match, and can get guys over, but also still be able to earn a win. So Jericho and Styles, great match, and then Styles is #1 contender next night on Raw. So even though Styles lost, he still was #1 contender, and everybody's cheering for that.
Yeah,
a TNA guy going for the belt, which he probably won't win, but it's a placeholder until we are now in the dog days of WWE, and a lot of placeholder feuds are going to happen. This Styles reigns is what's going to be carried over for the next couple months probably.
But there's the potential. AJ Styles is one of those guys that'll have the potential to make Roman Reigns look really good in a match.
Yeah, and Styles is the babyface, and Reigns kind of like has hinted towards he's not a good. It's true. He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. and he is the guy. And I would say that is Vince's quote verbatim about Roman Reigns right now. Vince does not care if he gets booed. If Reigns gets booed, he is still going to book him the way he wants to book him. And Reigns is the top guy. And Reigns, I will keep the belt until SummerSlam at least. And that's the way it's going to go. So Styles is a great wrestler. And this is his kind of welcome to WWE moment, being in the main title picture with the top guy. I'm sure they're going to have some decent matches and push Reigns to the limit. I have no problem with AJ Styles being the quote-unquote number one contender.
Nor do I, of course, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Big AJ Styles fan.
So we'll see what happens with these matches, but I like it because Owens and Zayn are going to be feuding.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be a lot of fun.
For a while. And then Jericho, we didn't really think Jericho was going to win. And Jericho can be the annoying bad guy. And he's still getting heat, still very good on the mic, still a very good performer. So he's still very valuable. Next match, we saw League of Nations. We saw Wade Barrett's last WrestleMania as of right now.
Yeah.
Come out, and after, we saw probably the best entrance of the night, which was Big Box of Booty-O's.
Booty-O's.
You saw Kofi, Big E, and Xavier.
In Dragon Ball Z gear.
Yeah, come out, and they put on a match. The bad guys got over, but then he had one of the highlights of the night. Shawn Michaels looking in great shape.
He looked incredible.
Yeah, Mick Foley looked in great shape too. And you know what? I've interviewed Mick Foley about 5 times, and every single time, after the first time I interviewed him, I asked him to sit down because he can not stand for more than 5 minutes. He always has to sit. And we do the interview sitting down. And for him to come out and put on those spots, knowing this man can barely even walk now, is absolutely amazing. And he posted a picture on his Facebook of what he looked like months ago and what he looks like now. And he lost a bunch of weight.
He has lost 50 pounds. He was on Stone Cold's podcast last Thursday after SmackDown. And he lost 50 pounds since November, December or something.
Yeah, he looked in great shape. Good for him. Still very much in pain, but he even got towards the end when Stone Cold were drinking beer. He wanted to get backstage and sit down. But right to see Stone Cold comes out, and what they're going to do, and the Stone Cold tease, and I'm like, please don't dance, please. But he did a little jig.
That was a quintessential Stone Cold.
Oh yeah.
Like sarcastic jig, right? So
he did the jig. He, teased. Xavier did a little spin around and then gave him the stunner. So you had, Stone Cold going over on the good guys, but it was funny. It was entertaining. It was what you expected, and they all drank some beer. So it was a good segment. Good to see Stone Cold. All 3 guys looked in great shape, and Stone Cold throwing some haymakers and some stunners out there, and Shawn Michaels looked like he can still go. I'm sure. He was all
he looked better now than like the last couple of years when he just kind of makes appearances.
When he makes appearances, he looks like a guy that looks like he has been living on twigs and berries. Like he just looks skinny and just frail. He looked jacked. He got ready. He was hardcore.
He was in his gear. Yeah. You're like, oh man, he's gonna go.
And Mick Foley too. It was great to see those 3 guys, and it was a typical WrestleMania moment with the old timers coming out.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. Then we had the main chunk of the evening. Brock Lesnar taking on Dean Ambrose. No holds barred street fight. 13 minutes. You had Lesnar getting a win, and I heard that Ambrose wanted to do a lot more with this match. He wanted to be more involved with weapons, but he was turned down. And the match I thought was lackluster. And really didn't live up to the no holds barred street fight moniker of this. So Lesnar gets to win, Ambrose gets the loss, and I wish there was more with this.
There really wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it was a letdown in terms of the wrestling. Okay, it's fine, but then I don't know why have the stipulation? Why have the gimmick match?
Yeah,
just wasn't necessary.
Barely left the ring. Surrounding. I wish they would have maybe go up the ramp a little bit more, maybe, or a spot on the star or something that would have, kind of kicked it into high gear, but didn't happen. I was kind of disappointed with that. But Lesnar gets the win. Ambrose still saves face because, he still battled and did some weaponry fighting. Next was the triple threat for the new women's title. Lasted 16 minutes. You had Charlotte defeating Becky Lynch while Ric Flair was holding Sasha Banks' foot. The entrances were pretty cool with Flair, Charlotte having pieces of Ric Flair's old attire, old robe. And you had Sasha Banks obviously being introduced and sung to ringside by her cousin Snoop Doggy.
Is it serenading when somebody raps? I don't know. I don't know that answer.
But Snoop Dogg did escort down the ring. It was a decent match. Not as good as Asuka versus Bayley match, I believe. But kind of felt rushed. It was 16 minutes long. Of course, we had the Ric Flair, being involved with this. It was kind of weird that they're building the women's title match, and then you had a man being involved with the main
with the end. Yeah, I know a lot of people mock that, but from a character standpoint, it was perfect in terms of the ending because listen, you still need Charlotte to be a heel with her dad, so it's great. How do you get? The thing was, I think anybody is a believable winner in this match. So, what's the I guess easiest for lack of better terms, but unbelievable outcome is you've now thrown down 2 submission holds on Becky Lynch back to back like that, and you have Ric Flair there to hold Sasha Banks from interfering, and finally you can actually have a finish because everything else was, an interrupted finish, so to speak.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic match. I thought it was just as good as the stuff that they were doing at NXT. It was great. You got these, you gave these ladies an opportunity to work. And to that point, it was one of the better matches on the show and of the evening. From the kickoff show to that point, especially coming off of a disappointing Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose match. You watch those women work, and you're like, well, why do we even have Lesnar and Ambrose comparatively? This was way better.
I thought it was like a ho hum kind of expected match. Like I said, I felt like spots were a little bit rushed, and Charlotte's still a little bit sloppy. She's still green. And, she has the look, and obviously her having her dad being Ric Flair helps her cause of being women's champion, which is the reason why she is women's champion. So I would predict Sasha, Charlotte holds on to the belt till SummerSlam, and we'll probably see Sasha versus Charlotte, and Sasha will take the belt at SummerSlam in August. So 16 minutes, decent match, probably the second best of the night. I think IC title match was probably the best overall match, but still, for most of these matches, were just fairly ho-hum. Then we had the big half-an-hour match, longest match of the night. Taker versus Shane. Shane wins. He gains control of Raw, which we see that anyway since he lost. And Taker would be barred from competing at WrestleMania ever again. Taker wins. We had the big spot. Shane jumping off 20, 25 feet onto a announce table with compressed air so he doesn't hurt himself. Taker moves out of the way. Still hell of a spot. Shane's okay. Shane's all right, obviously. Taker gets the win, throwing him back into the ring. Tombstone. It's over. So Taker gets the win. Shane, not a wrestler. Those punches are still very, very painful to watch, but we had the big spot. We didn't predict Shane would jump off the cell in our scorecard. We didn't think it would happen, but
we did not think it would happen.
Dude still did it, and kudos to Shane for being 40-some, only 6 years younger than Undertaker too.
Yeah,
and throwing himself off the cell, and
he went coast to coast.
Coast to coast.
I thought it was a fun, nice moment when he did the hand gesture to the Undertaker, and then the Undertaker did it to him, and then the Undertaker gave him the pat on the face right before the tombstone. I enjoyed that. Obviously, everybody knows at this point I love Shane McMahon, but to your point, I enjoyed all that stuff. But why did it take so long for us to get to that? It didn't need to take a half an hour. There was a lot of very slow points in there. Did he need to really cut the cage? That just seems silly. Why couldn't he be thrown into it? They rig it so that
he also cut,
then it opens up.
He also cut where the cage doesn't even attach to the other part, where he didn't even cut anything. It was just fake. I mean, obviously, but the cage came apart where he even cut, and they spent a lot of time showing Shane cutting too. So it was kind of
he just didn't need to do that.
A lot of filler, which we kind of expected. It was going to be some spot rest. There was a lot of rest, especially a lot of these matches. A lot of rest.
Just too much rest in this one.
Yeah, it wasn't like bam, bam, bam. It was half an hour long, and we finally get to the spot.
Even him getting to the top of the cell.
He milked it, man.
He did. At that point, you knew The Undertaker was going to move.
I think it was because he waited, because underneath the table
They wait for the air to fill up.
was the compressed air, because you see it. You
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
them
we
being
saw. Yeah,
sucked.
we even see
Yeah.
it on the. Yeah.
So I was thinking he was just making sure that it was ready, and then he got the signal to do it. So that kind of took
Yeah.
a little bit, and then he jumped and Taker got him out of the way.
We're
so that was
surprised
pretty cool.
Vince had no interaction in this match.
I'm surprised we didn't see Vince the whole night. I
Yeah.
was very surprised. No interference whatsoever.
Specifically in this one, where all this stuff is on the line, and he was very involved in the storyline.
He was the vocal point.
How was he not? I mean, you have the Undertaker saying Vince McMahon's blood is going to be on his hands.
Yeah.
And of course, Vince wanting Shane to lose. Like, I just was like, how was he not in there for a half an hour match?
Yeah, something.
It's weird to say that I would expect more, but it did.
Yeah. So Taker gets the win. But next night on Raw, Shane is given the reins for Raw for one night. And even he was given the reins for Raw. He didn't even show on TV that much. He was on for like a minute backstage, and he made the Cesaro return. But Shane, it's very. It felt like this match was just put together because so many guys were injured. They needed some star power. They knew Shane would get over. They knew Shane would do something crazy, be the main WrestleMania moment. So they threw some BS stipulation with it, not trying to make it a long.
And I get it, and maybe it's unfair for us to fully. It sucks to say it's to fully judge WWE because of all the injuries that are happening, that did happen, and everything, and a lot of the injuries did happen just a couple months prior. They happened very quickly, so you couldn't even. You could still say that the roster is deep. They should be able to back this up, but there's a lot of planning that goes into it, and then you probably are planning for one thing, and then all of a sudden, quickly you got to change around. So it speaks to that more so.
And really quick, the injuries. If we didn't have any injuries and everybody was healthy, their top three matches of the evening would have been Cena versus Taker. You would have had a Shield three-way for the title.
Love it.
And you would have had Wyatt versus Lesnar. So people get hurt, things happen. All right, so Baron Corbin wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, eliminating Kane. You had you had the whole slew of guys in there, but we're not going to name them all. DDP looking 60 years old. He is 60. Coming in there, throwing a diamond cutter in there as well. Looking great. DDP Yoga, man.
He looks amazing.
Doesn't sponsor the show, but geez. DDP, I haven't done DDP Yoga, obviously, looking at me, but I can vouch for it. People say it's really great. So,
I haven't done it either. I need to, apparently. I want to be looking great at 60 years old in the Memorial Battle Royal.
If I don't start doing it, I won't be here if I'm 60. So Baron Corbin gets the win. I love Baron Corbin. I was not high on him last year when he came to NXT here in Cleveland, but watching him progress, he can be like a Randy Orton kind of heel guy. Not really. I mean, he's decent on the mic if he's short. He has the look. He can feud with anybody. He has improved in the ring. He can kind of be the longevity guy of Randy Orton. Randy Orton's kind of bland himself.
Yeah.
So
maybe.
he can be the Randy Orton replacement. Randy Orton goes to the WrestleMania schedule. All right, really quick. The Rock comes out, flamethrower and all, and
tribute to China.
And we have, what was going to be the Rock's, Rock's role. We said pump up. He announced the kayfabe. He announced the wrong attendance. They didn't have 101,000 people there. Paid 97,000. Little fact right there, little footnote. And then every time he comes out, it's the same jig. It's the same thing. I love The Rock, one of the all-time favorites, but I'm getting sick of this shit.
It's not his fault, though, right? We can't put this on him.
That's what. But
I mean, he goes into it, and they're like, "Hey, this is what we need you to do. This is what we want you to do."
The
right?
Rock does what he wants to do.
No, but he's not going to go in there and be like, "Hey, I think you should let me put a guy over. That's how we should do everything. That's all I want to come up and show up
I'm not
and
talking
do."
about that. He comes out. He takes so long to speak. He milks the crowd.
Right.
He says one thing, and then he stops, and he milks it for everything. It's just,
Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
It was just
That's why I
way
tweeted out
too
whose
much.
entrance takes longer at this point, The Rock or The Undertaker.
The Rock did, obviously. Taker, nothing special for Taker. But The Rock, the Wyatt family comes out. You have this mark out moment for the Wyatt family. Then you have the 6-second match. Rock, for insurance purposes, cannot have a full match. Does a couple bumps. Whoop-de-doo. Wyatt's still hurt, which is why Wyatt didn't wrestle. So Rowan takes his spot. 6-second, shortest match in WrestleMania history, blah, blah, blah. And then John Cena comes out, and you can't have WrestleMania without Big Match John. So John Cena comes out. He's still rehabbing. He's not 100%. He'll be back in May, but you can't have WrestleMania without John Cena. So it was more of a John Cena Rock moment, getting over on the Wyatts.
Yeah.
Everybody's all giddy for, WrestleMania moment. That's all it was. There's not going to be a Cena Wyatt feud at all. It was nothing of that. It was just that's what
it was just
happened.
a fun little moment.
That's what happened. So leading into Roman Reigns, Triple H to round out the show, you're already tired. You've been there for almost 7
So
hours.
tired.
You are exhausted. And then
Wait, I'm sorry. You forgot a match.
Which one?
Oh, no, we did talk about the Battle Royal. I'm looking into this thing, and man, this thing was really long. Did we miss a match?
No.
My mistake. We did just talk about that.
Yeah,
That's how long it was
Corbin.
being there, Glenn.
So then Stephanie comes out, and then she's berating you, trying to get that heat.
She was not going to get any heat looking like that, let me tell you, in a male-dominated audience.
Trying to get the heat, trying to get people to boo for Triple H. And Triple H comes out, gets a nice reaction. And I know you were there live, and I was watching on TV. When Reigns comes out, the crowd mics off. You don't hear the boos. You don't hear as loud. And I know we're reading reports and talking to people that were there. It was not as bad.
No, when he first came out, it was a pretty mixed reaction. It wasn't until
they were booing his spots.
Yes.
And then when he speared Stephanie, it kind of got a nice pop because it wasn't expected.
Yeah.
And then when Reigns did win, it kind of got a nice. It wasn't a total boo fest.
No, there was a little bit of pop there. I could tell you this and the funny thing is, like, we all sat there and said, everybody's like, yeah, there was a pop at the end, and it wasn't for Roman Reigns. It was because WrestleMania was finally over.
Let's get the hell out.
But
of
even
there.
then, Triple H and Stephanie milked it for probably like another 15 minutes after Roman Reigns was gone, like staying in the ring, and they went over and they hugged Linda and even Shane's kids, because they were still front row. So like Stephanie said hi to her nephews and Linda and then their daughters and everything. But the crowd, because it was so long, and obviously there's a lot of kids that go to this, so people, parents and everybody with their kids, all started leaving during the matches because it was so late and the kids were falling asleep. And Roman Reigns, similar like any babyface, who are predominantly most of their fans going to be the kids. So a lot of times when these boos, when the match went from, okay, you didn't really hear many boos, it was a pretty good mix, to all of a sudden like, these boos are kind of taking over.
Right.
It's because the majority of the fans were gone.
Yeah, it didn't
Even in general, the audience just started filing out because I think everybody got in their minds like, all right, Roman Reigns is going to win. We've had enough.
So WWE basically just outlasted, the fans.
Yeah.
That's how they got people to cheer because people were just too tired to even boo. Probably that's just why they did it, and
it's
it worked.
kind of what it came down to. I mean, the stadium really started to empty out.
Yeah. So around midnight here on the East Coast, the WrestleMania is finally over, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I fell asleep a couple times during the show just because some of the matches were kind of, and then just exhausted from watching 7 hours of WrestleMania. And then on Raw, we kind of hit on the major parts of what happened on Raw. Styles, number one contender. You had Shane running Raw. We don't know how that's going to happen. I think Shane's going to be gone for a while. No Cena, no Triple H, no Seth. A lot of people were hoping for Seth. Seth's not going to return until a couple months. Cena's going to be mid-May. Owens and Zayn are going to feud. Here's another tidbit, another idea. Maybe why don't you have Paige go with the Wyatts? I would like to see that.
Should be Sister Abigail?
No, not Sister Abigail. Just kind of the female of the Wyatt family.
Yeah.
Well, new direction. Tyler Breeze. Jeez. Love Breeze in NXT, but this guy does not get over. And you might see Fandango and Sandow get released here shortly as well.
Sandow's going to make so much money on the indie circuit.
Oh, yeah. Japan will love him. And what else? Ziggler is more of an enhancement talent now. And Corbin's on the main roster for sure. And the original plan for Shane Taker was Bray Wyatt was going to get involved with that, but they decided to scratch that.
Probably would have been better if they used him.
Probably, but then again, Wyatt.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Storyline.
You need to continue the story somehow.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Wyatt is hurt too, so he can't really wrestle his way with the storyline. So what would be the reason then?
Yeah. What was nice is that a lot of things that happened that were somewhat of head scratchers on WrestleMania were addressed on Raw. I did like that. For as many people who were like, "Oh, can't believe they did this, they did that, and blah blah," or that doesn't make sense, and then like we did kind of address it on Raw, which was nice. I appreciated that out of Monday Night Raw.
So you have a new season of WWE after WrestleMania. Reset button hits, and we are off the road to WrestleMania, taking the dirt roads. We're on the back roads, and now we get in the dog days of WWE. And the ratings for the Raw after WrestleMania was the same rating for the Raw after the Royal Rumble, which is not good if you're WWE.
Wow.
So the ratings...
But Primo and Epico are coming back.
Yeah, they love Puerto Rico. I knew that was coming, and I was waiting for the vignette to play, and I was like, all right, they're no more Matadores. They are from Puerto Rico.
And that's okay.
That's cool, yeah.
You know what? We know it would make me
Another
really
tag
love
team. Another tag team added to the mix. You have Enzo and Cass. You had Apollo Crews now. There's a lot of guys on the roster now, Steve.
There are, which makes you wonder why there was not going to be a brand split.
Yeah,
but
there's not going to be a brand split, so people. I mean, I think you'll see kind of it not being recognized as the brand split, but you'll probably see like some guys stay on SmackDown, wrestle more on SmackDown than Raw. So you might see that happen. But yeah,
look for Raw to go to 4 hours, folks.
Oh, jeez, taking a nap halfway through,
so that everybody can be on it.
No Jerry Lawler for the main show. It was very very sad. Hey, kudos to Saxton going 7 hours announcing.
Rumor had it, and I don't know if this is true. Was he silent for a good part of any match, like a half an hour or so?
I don't think so.
I had seen a couple things with people watching it that he hadn't been there, and then somewhere somebody had seen a report that Byron needed to go find the bathroom. He had to finally take a piss break.
Oh, really? I didn't. Did not see that.
Because did he do the not the kickoff show, but did he do the kickoff show too with
it was
Morrow and Jerry
and Saxton.
Yeah, so he didn't really get a break between any of that.
If he had to do a piss break,
can't blame him.
Can't blame him. Can't really do the go underneath the ring and piss in a cup, or you can't hold underneath the table.
Yeah,
you got 100,000 people looking at you. You're gonna be jig is up for that. But no, Saxton, I mean, kudos to him. 7 hours of announcing, which I'm sure he had a great time at the after party, getting by and wasted.
It was a lot. The only thing I want to say about Enzo and Cass on Raw, I mean, it could be a lot, but we're going to keep this condensed here. How good, though, is Enzo Amore with that mic? I mean, I thought it was fantastic. It was great. It reminded me like a lot of old school insults that the guys used to throw at each other.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what it is.
Hopefully, he can keep it up because Breeze got a big reaction when he came out. Everybody loved it because he's NXT.
Yeah,
and then he totally faded. So hopefully, Enzo and Cass. I think Cass has a brighter future than Enzo just because of the look.
Size. Yeah,
he's a monster, and obviously Enzo is the mic.
Their personalities lend, and the personality of this tag team lends itself to be able to be more with stuff. Tyler Breeze, what does his personality really do with a mic?
It's a cool personality. It just didn't get over. Fans will shit on it. So
yeah,
hopefully fans will get sick of this Enzo and Cass, shindig. And then you had the Vaudevillains going to SmackDown too. So you have all these tag teams. I just wonder
how long
now.
That's going to last.
The tag team division is it's a lot of tag teams
stacked.
So a lot of guys are making. Apollo Crews made his debut as well.
Yep.
And then you obviously have Baron Corbin, on the main roster, and Samoa Joe is not too far behind as well. So a lot of guys, a lot of roster, and I'm sure some guys are going to get released. Hence, Fandango and Sandow, and then Wade Barrett's going to be gone. Brie Bella officially retires; she's gone. She had her little shining moment winning as well. She's going to get knocked up very, very soon, I suppose. Look for that happening. Probably happening right now as we speak.
Yeah,
going. Brie mode.
Always great when people say we're going to try to make a baby. Yeah. I always just think, well, what were you doing beforehand? The more effort is put into not having the baby.
It's true. Maybe Dee Bry doesn't have strong swimmers. You never know.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know.
Maybe.
Never know. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed our WrestleMania recap.
Which is what Daniel Bryan won't be doing.
Yeah, we will be at AAW on Friday. Forgot about Dre. Booker T will be in town. If you want to come meet Booker T, AIWrestling.com for tickets, and there's a meet and greet with Booker T, Sucka, and looking forward to chatting with him. So AIWrestling.com for absolute intense wrestling here in Cleveland. If you're in the tri-state area, make sure to come out and support indie wrestling and come to Cleveland and meet Booker T. A lot of events coming up for AIW. So like I said, AIWrestling.com. Make sure to visit our website. This is AwesomeWrestlingShow.com as well. All our past shows, interviews, and news stories are on the website. And follow us on Twitter at TIA Wrestling and Instagram, and also like us on Facebook. We will talk to you guys next week. See ya.